What's up, guys? All right, sweet. It is CPI day today, so price may be a little bit interesting. We definitely won't be trading it too late into London's session. So everyone's going to have a bit of an earlier night because of that side of things. So kicking it off with EU. What we've got at the minute, we are mitigating this decisional area of that much larger break there, having a really strong reaction from it. However, I don't actually think this is going to hold. This reaction, I believe, is going to be actually more of a trap reaction, just given that it didn't fill itself and didn't really induce anything. And we've pushed straight into the decisional of that 15-minute bearish break and are having a really nice reaction out of it. Currently mitigating the retest of that first initial bullish break. So what I'm looking for here is I'm actually looking for sells. Out of the supply area, we have a broken low, retested, and created an internal leg, which to be honest is more or less this actual whole range here, given none of this induced anything, including our retest and didn't mitigate anything as well, including this leg here, it didn't mitigate whatsoever. So we can come all the way up here and then sell. However, we've got this area here, which is around that 50% of Asia. We've broken Asia low. We're now pushing up out of this retest area. So what I'm looking for is if we can sweep this point here, I will be treating that as a medium inducement. I'm happy to sell straight from there, looking to follow along with the structure cycle that we've got potentially being completed from the mitigation of this point, the sell-off we've had from it, and the targeting the sweep of the retest. The other side of this is given the liquidity that we're generating here. If we do sell from here, I am actually happy to buy it from the inducement of that retest, given the liquidity and the significance of this point. So I'm happy to do either, just depends on which way we're going to go first. At this stage, it's looking like we're pushing up. I won't be as keen to sell if we sweep Asia high. I actually wanted to respect Asia high and just work off the liquidity that will be brought in from the sweep of that area. However, I'm also happy to sell if we come all the way up here. But if we do get up there for it to be slow enough for it to be worth my while, it's probably going to be too late or even potentially tomorrow's setup, depending on what CPI does to it tonight. So we'll see how that shapes up, but I am watching that for today. I wanted to continue to generate liquidity like it's doing right now, just trapping in heaps of buys with these pushes. If we can keep doing something like that, that would be great. Generate that trend line along here. Give me some sort of like initial target that we can have just here. I'm then happy to sell straight off the back of that. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Got my alert set there, so we'll see what that wants to do and if that's going to continue to play ball. We can come all the way up. So, it may just blow through this. If it does just blow through here and doesn't give anything, I don't want to sell just off Asia high. This point's nothing. It's like a little bit of a demand to supply. So we could look to work with something like that, just given the fact there is a demand to supply. Um, actually just want to check. With like a little bit of a retest sweep here, but I do see this point more so as the retest. Yeah, we can monitor it, but I don't love trying to sell from that area. If we do just push from where we are and don't sell from here, I'll be more so, yeah, wanting to leave it be, I think, until we come all the way up. This area itself is a supply to demand area, but this point here itself is retest. So expecting a similar sort of reaction here as we got with this retest, how this point, brought in a little bit of sellers and then pushed. I'm expecting this to do the same, bring in some buyers and then push. So see what that wants to do. We'll move across to GU. GU, I'm not really looking to do anything with at the moment. I do believe it's more than likely going to sell. What we've got is the inducement of our decisional. This was a retest, of course, of that break. Looking like it may work as a breaker structure, just given that we've got a little bit of a retest point just there. However, given the sweep of this sweep does definitely outweigh this, and we've now stalled. So we've got it stalling, we've got EU respecting, and GU potentially starting to give a bit of a sell-off. We are mitigating a point that I do believe is a smart money trap, given that it's swept no liquidity and it's after its significant inducement, broken internally into it, swept the retest of that internal break, into the decisional of that internal break, which is a demand to supply area. And now we've started to get a little bit of a sell-off from there. So I'm not looking to do anything with GU. It's a very, very condensed sideways consolidative price action. You may find it induces something like this, the decisional. And then you might get a bit of a sell-off even after here, just bringing in more buyers from this smart money trap. And you can look to sell after that. My only issue is you're going against the momentum and the structure cycle. Is if we do push past here, there is a fair chance that it's now going to disregard the inducement of the decisional and it's going to look to come and target the extreme before potentially selling off. The other big side of GU that you need to remember is where it is from a higher time frame perspective. We are mitigating more of this whole area of that hourly extreme range. So yes, it can come deeper, and it makes a lot of sense to come deeper. And given what it's swept, I do believe it's going to in the divergence with EU. But if it does push, it is also valid to do that. So it's just something that we need to take into consideration. But it is looking like at this stage, it's yeah, probably going to sell. It has generated a lot of liquidity down here, especially with these more or less equal lows there as well, inside of an area that is retest of that initial break. If we have a quick look at EG, it started to move a little bit sideways. GU is, it started to sell off a bit as well, but it is more or less moving sideways a bit after taking that 4 hour point there. Starting to gain a bit of traction just now after sweeping all of this liquidity. So that could be a good sign of the divergence starting to play back into EU's favor, with EU obviously having respected that decisional. So looking good on that side, but GU, yeah, I'm not looking to do too much with. AU, I want to buy it where it is, but the structure's just fucking shit. Just horrible structure. Yeah, just no good. Just no good. I'm having a bit of a look on a high time frame. We are mitigating the extreme of that external hourly and 15-minute bullish leg. Had a really nice bullish continuation after mitigating that area. We've broken and retested, yet to induce the retest. We've now pushed into the decisional area of that, the retest area of that previous initial break that created our complex pullback. So following along with the rules of the structure cycle, this area here should not hold. We've since induced a 15-minute low, which did in itself take a little bit of liquidity. Nothing crazy, nothing significant, but it has taken a little bit of liquidity, pushed high, generated liquidity, swept that out of retest. So I am looking for buyers where we are. Now, for me to buy it where it is, there's a couple of different things we need. We don't really have any structure inside of this leg here. You've got like a tiny little break here, tiny little break here. So, you've got that aspect to it, getting a bit of a sell-off now. If it comes down into this 5-minute area, we can just work with it a little bit from there. The other side is if we do break this high, that's my external 1-minute range. We can then work with something like this, got a decisional area here. I'll be happy to look for buyers, out of there, something like that. So we'll just see how this wants to shape up. It is starting to sell off quite heavily just now. Given the lack of significance of this point here, it may come down deeper, which is fine. We may come down and sweep like this retest, for example, may work its way down and then do something like that. However, AU, as we all know that trade it, we can get very, very aggressive price action and then just taps and goes. So it may not give us too much of a chance, but we will monitor it and see what we can do. Internally inside of this potential smart money trap area, it's going to be really difficult. We can't really get an entry inside of it just because we'd be entering like here. You'd have to go break even more or less like there. Because if we break up like this, it's just going to create a new range like that. This is going to become a decisional area. This is going to become an extreme that's unmitigated. It can very well do this. So you'd have to be break even at the sweep of that high. And given that you'd be entering more or less like here, you just don't have the room to go break even. So yeah, we're just gonna have to kind of gonna have to wait and work inside the new range, realistically speaking. Looking at the DXY has induced its retest of the 15-minute and 1 hour external leg, swept all that trend line. Now we're starting to work our way back up. Similar story to EU in the sense that we haven't really like induced anything on the way down just yet. Realistically, like that's your retest area there. Your decisional areas, of course, down here. We have taken Asia high into the retest of that first break as well. If we can get that same sort of thing, that'll be looking good from there. So shaping up nicely, just going to have, of course, some patience as always. Make sure we're not pulling the trigger too early on anything. We've got really good targets. We've got really good context. We just need to make sure that we are being very, very patient with this because we can get a good setup here. We just need to wait for it to play ball, show its hand, and be in the right spot. So we'll sit on it, we'll watch it, we'll wait, and when we get the right setup, we'll execute if the context aligns.